After our trouble with the Cardassians, Admiral Quinn contacts us and tells us to report to ESD to speak with the Romulan Republic's ambassador. Apparently there's a growing threat from the Borg, ever since the Tal Shiar's experiments with Borg technology. This briefing is a bit confusing, as Quinn still has the dialogue from a cut portion of the game, referring to characters that are no longer central to this arc. Still, we find the Romulan ambassador in Quinn's office, where she alludes to the experiments. We've been assigned because of our first-hand experience with the Tal Shiar's efforts to harness the Delta Quadrant tech. She turns us over to Captain Nicholas Martin for briefing. He lets us know of activity in the Burgus System, a sector of space on the other side of Romulan territory. This must be why the ambassador is here personally. If we're going to the Burgus System, we're going to have to traipse across the light years of Romulan space, so it would be good to have an official sanction. I thought we dealt with the Tal Shiar and their obsession with improving their soldiers and vessels with dangerous equipment. Clearly, merely defeating Hakeev all that time ago has done nothing to curb their enthusiasm for malefic and unstable technologies. The Tal Shiar was a cell-structured organisation, so I can see why simply cutting off the head won't kill the whole thing, as spread out and rooted as it is, like a weed. We lay in a course for the Burgus System to see what awaits us. It's a long journey ahead. It's a really long way away. The likelihood is that this Borg activity we're detecting is just a rogue Tal Shiar operation, not an actual Borg force. Well, then again, we are travelling to the edges of known Beta Quadrant space, and some years ago in 2362, the USS Tombo vanished this deep into the Beta Quadrant, and 2 years later the Enterprise D found several missing colonies at the extreme edges of the neutral zone, so we can't rule out their actual presence. Finally, a pale sun marks the end of our trip. A necklace of asteroids ring this star, and there is truly nothing remarkable about this system, except an end to the monotony.
This is Commander Talus of the Romulan Star Empire vessel RNA. We are under attack by Borg scout squadrons. This is a formal request for assistance from any ship receiving this message. Do not abandon us.
Oh snap! Prepare for combat. Commander Talus, we're on our way. If we're quick enough in this mission, we can neutralise the Borg probe ships easily enough while the RNA helps out. If we're too slow, however, then the vessel is disabled and we're on our own to fend off the Borg. The probes themselves are the weakest Borg forces, being designed mostly as scout vessels with minimal crew and arms. They don't really pose a threat, but it's a different story with the Sphere, which is a noticeable step up in terms of offensive capabilities. Coming around to engage the Sphere, it lances us with plasma, the beams searing across our deflector shields and shaking the Armiger. Alongside their severe firepower, the Spheres have an array of tactical and technical abilities such as tractor beams, tachyon beams, and as any Borg encounter shows, they'll take advantage of a gap in the shielding to beam drones aboard. We get lucky. This ship seems focused on destroying us rather than trying to hold us down for assimilation. It must be here to complete a primary objective, and we're just in the way. Destroying the Borg ships, however, results in a cube warping in.
You have compromised the integrity of the collective. Prepare to be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
Excuse the jump edit, you'll see why in a minute. The infamous Borg cube is a dangerous adversary for a lone Federation vessel, especially this Akira class. Alongside the sphere's abilities, it can bring to bear tremendous amounts of firepower and deploys slow-moving but incredibly high-yield torpedoes. The vessel has the standard weapons range of 10 kilometers in Star Trek Online, but even at this distance, it looks closer, a testament to its sheer size. We hover at the edge of its range. This gives us time to shoot down any torpedoes coming our way and lets us retreat to a safe distance should things get dicey. It doesn't take much effort for the cube to pummel our shields out of existence, and fighting it close up is going to set us up to fail. One advantage we do have is that it is slow to turn, so a sustained assault on one side will eventually yield results.
To any ship in range, this is the IRW RNA. My ship has been attacked and disabled by the Borg. My crew are being assimilated. The self-destruct is offline. I have retreated with my surviving officers to the main science lab. If you can hear this, I formally request assistance. If there is no one who can respond to this message, then may we die with honor.
It seems like she doesn't know that we're here. Perhaps the fight has knocked out her communications, or the Borg are taking control of her vessel. We tell her we'll beam over anyway. The Armiger is severely damaged from that battle, so repairs are going to have to be extensive, but hurried. The RNA doesn't look much better. It's immobile in space, but the Borg inside it will be hard at work, converting the ship and its crew into a tool for the collective.
Thank you for coming to our assistance. Borg drones have beamed aboard the RNA and are attempting to assimilate my crew. Several of us have barricaded ourselves in the science lab. We need your assistance to prevent our ship from being assimilated and to save the rest of the crew.
Well, they seem to have internal scanners working. This is Captain Hale's first true encounter with Borg drones. Having been lifted from the 23rd century, he missed the fuss they caused with the Federation, but has been briefed on them. The tone of this Romulan ship is still green, but something's off. It's not the dark metallic but well-lit chambers of Romulan design. It's tinged with yellow, like the ship is ill, like bile. Well, none of these pads work, so let's leave the transporter room and into the corridor beyond.
The Borg have the ability to adapt to energy weapons. In order to use energy weapons effectively against them, equip yourself and your bridge officers with frequency remodulators. There is a supply of them not far from your current position.
We can find these remodulators in a locker around the corner. Equipping them as an item allows us to randomize the frequency of our weapons. This is to counter the Borg adaptation.
There should be enough remodulators in that crate for your entire away team. If you ever need more, you should be able to replicate them easily enough.
As a hive mind, they analyze the energy frequencies of incoming fire until they have developed a shield frequency to match it. When this happens, they share this information and every drone in the vicinity changes its personal shielding to neutralize the energy emitted by whatever phaser, disruptor or disintegrator you're armed with. It's not wise to linger here, however, as a single Romulan officer strides from around the corner to meet us. Hello, I'm Captain Hale of the United Federation of Planets. We're here to... Are you okay? This Romulan attacks Tarsi and we have to open fire on it. This is an individual no more and we have to put it down. Lilia deploys a defensive shield as we try to proceed, but like water bursting from a dam, a myriad of drones push through the opening beyond. It took me by surprise, but they fall to a barrage of combined fire. These drones must have been recently assimilated. The nanites coursing through their bloodstream have yet to produce the sockets for augmentation that come with time. Oh, the door gave me a start. At the end of the corridor we see some of the surviving crew making a stand against a wave of drones. We join them in their efforts to repel the invaders, noting that the corridor from where the Borg came looks distinctly un-Romulan. I have to change the modulation on my rifle as they have adapted. The process takes precious seconds.
The Borg have locked down the passage ahead. Use the console in sickbay to override the security protocols.
To the right, the corridor is sealed, but as our view pans to the left, we can see a change in architecture. Pipes and bundles of wires snake across the ceiling to merge into the bulkhead and vanish from sight, the progress of assimilation. Entering the sickbay, we find more of the drones and put them down. Several more beam in from other locations, one a skeletal figure lacking much of their armour plating. The firefight is short, but when the dust settles, we notice something. These drones are wearing a mixture of Star Empire and Republic uniforms. Looking around at the appliances hovering over the biobeds, Temet makes a startling realization. Why would the Borg need to convert this into an assimilation bay? They don't need surgery, they can assimilate by contact. These Republic prisoners were more test subjects for the Tal Shiar experimentation. Their implants are much further along than those of the crew members, suggesting that they were turned earlier. Along one of the walls in the room are more captured Romulans, or prisoners of war. Setting them free, we can talk to one of them.
Thank you so much for saving us. The Tal Shiar were using us as test subjects in their experiments with Borg technology. Only a few of us survived their investigations. I know that they'll do anything to preserve their empire. And I've seen with my own eyes what they and the Ilachi did to the outlying colonies. But I didn't think they would be this cruel to their own people.
I wish I could say I was surprised, but honestly the Tal Shiar has lost its way a long time ago, but I dare say that without Hakeev, we may have actually made them more extreme. The last prisoner beams out to the Armiger, then we lower the security lockdown. Commander Talus then contacts us.
The Borg have disabled the force fields guarding the science lab. We managed to fend off the first wave, but we need your help. Get to the lab and stop the remaining drones.
Part of me wants to just beam out and leave her to it, but I need to maintain the moral high ground somehow. Heading deeper into the vessel, we come across signs of damage or assimilation. At this point I can barely tell them apart. We see the deck plating give way to circuitry and black metal piping as the very ship we are in is converted. But was this the Borg's doing, or the result of some failed Romulan experiment? Fighting our way through what looks like the former vessel's mess hall, signs of corruption creep in at the peripherals of the room. If I had to guess, I'd say the Tal Shiar were out here at the fringes of Romulan space, experimenting with their twisted plans, when something went wrong, as so easily can with Borg technology. Somehow, a drone or a signal got a message out, a call to the Borg saying, "Come to investigate," and they did. That initial signal must be what Starfleet and the Republic picked up, and we arrived here just after the Borg did. Finally, after navigating the twisted corridors, we reach the science lab.
Borg drones incoming. Destroy them before they reach the research equipment.
No sooner than we arrive, Borg beam in and begin to assault the lab. While the commander cowers behind her shielding, her security and our away teams engage the drones. There are roughly 4 waves of drones, and these ones are fully converted. They must be the original boarding party from the sphere, or perhaps even from the cube that we destroyed. Either way, they're tough opponents, and we have to constantly remodulate our weapons, drawing out the fight. Identifying where they beam in and hitting them with grenades or similar AoE attacks can go a long way to softening them up. Likewise, if you're in a bind and can't remodulate, dropkick a drone. They cannot adapt to 180 pounds of a flying tactical officer to the chest. This battle can take a while if the Borg manage to disperse from their beam-in points, but ultimately a calm settles across the lab.
Scanners show no further Borg presence aboard. Thank you for your aid, but I must ask you to return to your ship at once. Our research here is critical to the survival of the Romulan Star Empire, and I cannot share these secrets, even with our rescuers.
Well, Commander Talus, you are in no position to negotiate. So we're just going to have a look around if you don't mind. Taking some readings, the commander finally gives in.
We are studying salvaged Borg devices. Bear in mind that this technology is now the sovereign property of the Romulan Star Empire. My engineers tell me that our engines are online, so your further presence aboard my ship is neither necessary nor desirable. For your own safety, I advise you to leave and to forget what you have seen here.
We have no other option except to return to the Armiger here.
Long-range sensors show a Borg squadron approaching at speed. Essential repairs to our singularity drive are almost complete. If you can occupy the Borg and give us the time we need, I will overlook your intrusion on our classified research.
Overlook our intrusion after we literally rescued you and your crew? Romulan politics, I swear. We have several options here. We can accept the suggestion, which prompts her to acknowledge our adherence to her rules.
The Romulan Star Empire appreciates your discretion. Your actions today may well change the course of history. Keep the Borg occupied and we will depart as soon as our course is plotted. You are a friend to the Tal Shiar.
A friend to the Tal Shiar. That makes me cringe after what we've just witnessed. If you simply want to avoid a fight, you can select this option. After all, we did just save them. On the other hand, trying to confiscate the research or trying to detain them leads to a confrontation with the RNA as well as the Borg forces.
I had hoped to avoid a confrontation with you, but I see you are as unreasonable as I expected. Very well. Prepare to see the results of our research.
You can justify both options here. Siding with the Tal Shiar lets them keep their data, but you may have made an ally. Or maybe you simply wish to avoid complicating matters further, as isolated from the Federation as you are at the minute. The other options seem like the righteous ones, and turn the conflict into a three-way battle. Besides, the results of their research didn't seem to be that impressive. They died within the first 10 seconds. The single Borg sphere now turns its attention to the Armiger, and we're going to push the assault to capitalise on the damage inflicted by the Tal Shiar vessel. As soon as the sphere falls, more Borg arrive, but so does a single Republic vessel. The last cube almost destroyed us, and now there's two of them. Things are not looking good. For the sake of mild roleplay, we could attempt to flee, but the Armiger is still recovering from its earlier bouts, and not warp capable right now. The Republic ship and the Armiger managed to take down one of the vessels before turning our joint attention to the last. In order to wrap up this mission in STO, we just have to destroy the final cube. However, I'm going to take some poetic license with this storyline, so I hope that doesn't offend anyone. Manoeuvring towards our allied craft, we sound the evacuation procedures. Transferring the crew to the Republic ship, only Captain Hale, aided by the autopilot, will remain aboard. After all, the Armiger can't flee, but she can still fight. Protecting the crew aboard the Republic vessel, we jointly clear a path for them to escape. All that is left now is for the Armiger to distract the Borg to prevent them from following our crew. The Borg have returned to the fray. At the conclusion of this mission, Captain Martin contacts us and thanks us for our investigation of the Borg. He is wary of the Tal Shiar and their reckless pursuit of Borg knowledge. As the Borg have been alerted to their attempts, they've begun to launch a new offensive into the Alpha and Beta quadrants. The Vega system was just the prologue. This mission is an odd one. There are several remnants from the older storylines still in the briefing, and there are several bugs that I encountered along the way, so to save ending on a downer, let's look at a couple. For a start, you can rather unceremoniously be dumped inside this asteroid when you warp into the mission, preventing you from even starting it. Honestly, I tried for a good 2 minutes to get out and you can't. You're trapped inside a rock. You've gone all Starfleet's version of the interphasic cloak on this thing. You're stuck. And also, if you want an easy victory against the first Borg cube, just exit out of the conversation with the Borg drone. You can then attack the cube at whim, and it doesn't fire back. Not one shot at all. I found this out by accident on my first run, which is why I had to then go back and splice in footage of me fighting it genuinely. I felt like I was doing a bit of a disservice just to ignore it and brush past and carry on. Still, this marks the return of Trek's most iconic villain, and as such paves the way for the ever-growing narrative of Star Trek Online as we continue down the Borg Advance storyline. I've been Rick, and I hope you'll join me and the crew of the USS Armiger for the next part. Until then, thanks for watching, and goodbye.